Acura's all-new ADX, a compact SUV that isn't just built for one thing, it's precision crafted for everything. To escape the grind with available all-wheel drive. To go with your flow with available Google built-in.
Hey Google, turn it up.
Okay, turning up the volume. And crafted to be heard with an available Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. The all-new Acura ADX, crafted to match your energy. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Take your vibes and go.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
The Tudors Dynasty Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Rebecca Larson. Empress Theodora and Lola Montez, though separated by centuries, both defied societal expectations to rise from scandal to influence. Using their intelligence, boldness, and charisma, they transformed their controversial pasts into power. Theodora as a Byzantine empress shaping imperial law, and Lola as a fiery performer influencing European politics. Their stories highlight the enduring strength of women who challenged the roles they were given. One thing we must keep in mind while we talk about Theodora is that all the information we have on her comes from male historians and authors of her time period. For example, one major source dating back to the Byzantine Empire is The Secret History, written by Procopius Caesarea. Any woman who stepped outside the bounds of traditional, submissive roles in her society was almost certain to be harshly vilified. The book portrays Theodora as a temptress and whore, while also calling Justinian a rampant tyrant king of corruption. This text was not actually supposed to be published. He wrote lots of different texts about the famed couple, which cast them in a good light. At the time of its original publication, not many copies were made, but in modern times, it is Procopius's most popular text. We may think we know who Theodora and Emperor Justinian were, but what we're really seeing is a reflection of how threatening a powerful, outspoken woman was to the patriarchal norms of her time. Little is known about Theodora's childhood. Born in the late 5th century CE, she was one of 3 daughters of Acacius, a bear keeper at the Hippodrome circus in Constantinople. The Hippodrome that Theodora was raised in was the beating heart of Constantinople during the Byzantine era. Built during the reign of the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus in the 3rd century CE, it was an arena of spectacle, passion, and power. Theodora would have been immersed in the vibrant side of Byzantine society. She was no stranger to witnessing breathtaking acrobatics, poised theatrical plays, and daring animal shows. When her father died when she was around 7 years old, her mother petitioned for help from the party that employed her late husband. With no help from them, she taught Theodora and her sister to beg in a graceful manner. You might be thinking, beg in a graceful manner, but how? Well, her mother tried the melt their hearts approach, to which did not work. The family would need to find another way to make money. Entertainment was one of the most fundamental aspects of daily life in the Byzantine Empire, and Theodora, drawn to the dazzling chaos of the stage, found her voice, becoming an actress just like her older sister had several years earlier. The profession of an actress does not mean the same thing it does today. When we think of actresses, we think of glamour and luxury. Back when Theodora was alive, it meant that she was an acrobat, dancer, and a stripper. It was not long before she became a prostitute and gave birth to at least one child out of wedlock before the age of 17. Around 520, Theodora would travel with her newfound lover, Hecabolus, to northern Africa. He had just gained a position as governor. After a fight between the couple, Theodora soon found herself alone. With nowhere else to turn, she decided to make her way to Alexandria in Egypt. It also happened to be right across the Mediterranean Sea from Constantinople. Here she would meet Timothy and Severus, both patriarchs of Alexandria and Antioch, and 2 out of the 5 leaders of Christendom at the time. Facing persecution due to her belief in the monophysite nature of Christ, monophysites believed that Jesus had only one nature, a divine one. They thought that after Jesus was born, his human side and divine side became one single nature. This belief had been deemed heretical by the Orthodox Church. The 2 men would show Theodora kindness and compassion, something she was not used to. It's believed that from Timothy and Severus, Theodora experienced a religious conversion that would change her life forever. When she left for Constantinople in 522, she took up a modest lifestyle, leaving behind the entertainment life once and for all, becoming a seamstress. Her life would further change after she met Justinian, the nephew of the Emperor Justin. The 2 fell madly in love with each other. Justinian fell for her looks, wit, and intelligence. First, Theodora had become his mistress, but Justinian thought she deserved more than that. Due to their social ranking, it was forbidden for the 2 to wed like Justinian wished. His aunt, Empress Euphemia, was appalled at the thought of her nephew, the heir to the throne, marrying someone like Theodora. She was immoral, a loose woman. Having someone like Theodora as empress would surely bring shame to the empire and undermine the sanctity and dignity of the Byzantine throne. Oddly enough, Euphemia herself had gone from rags to riches when she married Emperor Justin I. Luckily for Justiniania and Theodora, Empress Euphemia allowed the couple to wed in 525. For the next 2 years, Theodora would be transformed into a graceful noblewoman, learning court etiquette, making sense of the inner workings of the political authority, and befriending those who wielded real power in the palace. By the time 527 rolled around, Theodora had her own pretty woman transformation, just in time to be formally crowned alongside her husband. Justinian, known for codifying Roman law and aiming to restore the Roman Empire's former glory, faced widespread unrest due to heavy taxation from his military campaigns. In 1532, this tension exploded in the Nika riots when rival circus factions united against him in the Hippodrome. As the rebellion escalated and much of Constantinople was destroyed, Theodora famously persuaded Justinian not to flee. With her support, he ordered General Belisarius to crush the uprising, resulting in the massacre of over 30,000 rioters and the execution of the rebel leader Hypatius. Procopius claims in his book, Secret History, that Theodora thrived in a life of luxury and glamour. She is described as wearing only the most sophisticated jewelry and extravagant costumes. She would sleep for most of the day and enjoy only the most mouth-watering food her empire had to offer. Even though she treated herself to much-needed personal time, She also took religious matters very seriously. To the persecuted Monophysites, Theodora was a beacon of hope, offering shelter and unwavering support. Her legacy endures in the sacred spaces she brought to life, such as the magnificent church of Saints Sergius and Bacchus. Theodora's most significant ecclesiastical achievement during Justinian's reign was the rebuilding of Hagia Sophia after its destruction in the Nika riots. Later, she aimed to install a pope favorable to the Monophysites. After Pope Agapetus's death in 536, she supported Deacon Vigilius's papal candidacy in exchange for his support of the Monophysites. When a rival, Silverius, was appointed pope, Theodora had him deposed and replaced by Vigilius. However, once in power, Vigilius refused to recognize the Monophysites, thwarting Theodora's plan. Theodora may not have fit the mold of a feminist in today's terms, as she used her husband's influence and palace schemes to achieve her aims. However, she deserves the recognition for her efforts to improve the lives of women in a time when there were few safeguards. She helped pass laws to protect actresses, ensure inheritance rights for women, and defend prostitutes against exploitation. Both of her sisters, despite their early acting careers, married into the upper echelons of Byzantine society. By the time she passed away in 548, likely due to cancer, Theodora had brought about significant changes for many women. While Theodora's rise from the Byzantine stage to the imperial throne unfolded in the 6th century, centuries later, another woman would echo that same spirit of audacity and reinvention. Lola Montez, though born into a very different world, similarly defied the limitations placed upon her gender and class. Like Theodora, she began as a performer, scandalized polite society, and used her charisma and intelligence to navigate courts, politics, and public opinion. Their lives may have been shaped by different empires, but both women left a trail of controversy and fascination in their wake. Proof that history often repeats itself in the boldest of women. Jumping forward to the 17th of February, 1821 in Ireland, Lola Montez, born Elizabeth Rosanna Gilbert, was born to Eliza Oliver and Edward Gilbert. Her mother, 14 at the time of her marriage to Edward, claimed to be a descendant of a very prominent family of the Spanish royal court. Lola had a very lonely childhood, being taken to India by her father only to be sent back to her mother in 1823 after her father died. Her mother would quickly remarry to a man named Patrick Craigie, who would become Adjutant General of the British Army in India. At the age of 5, she was sent to live in England and would recount in her memoir that she would not see her mother for almost 11 years. The reason why her mother would turn up out of the blue was appalling. She wanted to marry her off to an aging older man, but Lola had other ideas. Scandalously, she would elope with Thomas James, an army officer, at the young age of 16. The couple traveled abroad to India, but Lola would return to England alone. He would petition for a judicial separation on the grounds of her adulterous affair with a man named George Lennox aboard a ship. He would win. This is when her dancing persona was born, Donna Lola Montez. She would visit Spain, training as a dancer, and making her debut before royalty in London at Her Majesty's Theatre on June 3, 1843. Even though she was beautiful and poised, she would very quickly be driven off stage by angry viewers once she was recognized as the wife of Thomas James. Having no money to her name, she fled to Europe, hoping for a better life. She would travel to places like Paris and Moscow, where she would give very saucy and suggestive performances to various audiences. performing at Covent Garden in July 1843, speaks to the high level of her dancing talent, as only someone with remarkable skills would have been entrusted with such engagements. She would become the mistress of multiple men, including Alexandre Duzaria, part owner of a La Presse. He died during a duel in March of 1845, causing Lola to leave and travel to Munich, posing as a Spanish noblewoman. Between late October 1846 and early 1848, Lola's career as an actress temporarily stalled as she became the mistress of King Ludwig in Bavaria. In 1851, Lola made her return to the stage after allegedly marrying George Trafford Heald, a supposed officer in the Life Guards, on the 19th of July, 1849. However, just weeks later, she was charged with bigamy. Lola fled London after jumping bail and wandered across continental Europe before seeking dance lessons from the famous Parisian ballet instructor Jardine Mobile. She resumed dancing in September. She even made a Broadway debut in New York City in the original ballet on the 29th of December, 1851. She then would make her way over to the Grand Spanish Ballet in January 1852. Her career gained momentum thanks to several well-publicized benefit nights, where performers took home the majority of the box office earnings, and a highly reported event in April when Lola allegedly beat a man backstage in Boston. This was not the last time Lola would be accused of physically assaulting men. In July of 1852, she squared up with her dance master, George Smith. Almost a year later, in April 1853, she would attack the prompter of the Varieties Theater in New Orleans. She would go on to tour the California goldfields after she married Patrick Hurdy Hall, the editor of the San Francisco Whig, in July 1853. It would not be long before rumors started circulating that she was seeking a divorce. From here, she traveled to Australia with her new lover, Noel Folland, sometimes spelled Fallen, where she would perform at the Victoria Theatre in Sydney. After parting ways with her theatrical company, Lola traveled to Melbourne, where, much like in America, her fiery temper became a defining feature of her Australian tour. In February 1856, she publicly horsewhipped the editor of the Ballarat Times and later accused him of slander. Shortly afterward, she was brutally attacked by her manager's wife, leaving her unable to perform. When she was returning to San Francisco in June 1856, Folland mysteriously vanished overboard on the ship that they were traveling on. Once she reached the United States, Lola performed in San Francisco and New York, but by August 1857, she turned her attention away from dancing towards lecturing. Her lecture tours across the U.S. and Canada included subjects like beautiful women, heroines and strong-minded women of history, comic aspects of fashion, and slavery. This abrupt shift in her career later inspired the Reverend Francis Lister Hawkes' 1867 work, Is Not This a Brand Plucked Out of the Fire? The Story of the Penitent Lola Montez. Some scholars suggest that syphilis, which Lola may have contracted from Alexander Dumas, contributed to her death in New York on the 17th of January, 1861. She is also believed to have been survived by a daughter named Elise, fathered by a French journalist during their affair in the 1840s. Theodora and Lola Montez remind us that history is often shaped by those who dare to defy convention. Though their paths were marked by controversy, both women carved out space for themselves in male-dominated worlds, using their voices and presence to influence culture and power. Their legacies endure as bold examples of resilience, ambition, and complex ways women have asserted agency throughout history. And that concludes another episode of the Tudors Dynasty podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you love the show and would like to show your support, consider becoming a patron over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Tudors Dynasty. Over there, you'll get commercial-free episodes, early access, and some patron-exclusive content as well. If you would prefer to show your support in another way, head on over to my website, tudorsdynasty.com, and click on the shop to see some of the new merchandise that I have available. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
The Tudors Dynasty Podcast.